Hello and good morning. Welcome to episode 1 of Sovereign Spirituality. I have my best friend Viki here, and we are going to talk about standards in dating. I think that it's an interesting talking point that we talk about all of the time in real life, but and this is I'm gonna go right into what got it, how the idea came up for me is because I'm sorry, I'm checking to see if this thing works too. Okay, cool. We're hoping, we'll see. I was having a conversation with a coworker, and she's cute. She meant nothing by it, but asked me about my dating life, to which I responded that it is non-existent. And then she asked, she says, you're so beautiful, which is something, that's something else entirely.
Yeah.
Like, you're so beautiful. How are you not dating? And my response was, because I have standards. And she responded with, so you're high maintenance. And I was miffed. No, I have standards and I refuse to settle. I've been in a lot of shitty relationships, and not even a lot. But every guy that I have dated has treated me like shit, and I refuse to settle. And, I don't think that having standards should be considered high maintenance. And as individuals, we have individual standards. And my sister, who cannot be here today, brought up the point that some people want you to hold the car door open, and some people just want you to have a car. So how can you say what is high maintenance? And I have asked everybody that I have come into contact with if I'm high maintenance. I'm not, okay?
I think there's a big difference, too, with, standards, high maintenance, and the bare minimum.
Yes.
I don't think that we're willing to accept the bare minimum anymore as,
Yes, because we formerly have had really bad taste.
Yes, unfortunately.
And so we've learned, but it's through learning, what doesn't work for us, what we no longer want to be okay with.
Yeah.
That is standards. That does not make us high maintenance.
No. And I think standards, too, come into not only, romantic relationships, but friendships and other relationships in your life, too. So I think everyone should really base every relationship off what their standards are for any relationship. And that's not high maintenance either.
Right.
You don't want to have shitty friends. Well, you don't want to have shitty boyfriends either, or shitty partners, or whatever it is.
Right. You want people that add value to your life. And thank you for bringing that up, because I think about navigating my daughter through her friendship with somebody. I told you about that a little bit, and I made short about it a little bit, but they aren't friends. They were friends again, because her friend wound up coming to her and apologizing for their behavior, and then they got into an argument again, and my daughter was just like, you know what, I think it's for the best that we're not friends anymore. Yeah. And that's a 14-year-old. I hope all 14-year-olds can communicate that way and, their feelings, and that's something that's new, but, and that's just a friend. That is platonic, and I think that we all go through those things. Yeah. We need to know what we need, because at the end of it, we want somebody that brings value and doesn't make us feel worse about ourselves, that adds value to our lives.
Yeah, and I think, we've kind of bonded on the experience of, creating, our list. And some people go, extreme of, dark hair, blue eyes, all of those things, drives a motorcycle. But then some people just, or have a combination of the two. Some people have, a physicality, list, in addition to, characteristics, personality traits, standards of, what they're willing to compromise versus not compromise on. And I think those things continue to evolve with each relationship that you have, because, for instance, one of my situations is, I never really thought about people's energy as much as, I have after my last relationship, where it was just, a negative. I wouldn't even consider him a toxic person as much as, a negative person. And it was draining. So draining to the point, I would literally, feel enclosed. And I'm now that's, one of my top things. Which, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I didn't even pay attention to people's, energy or, how they presented themselves. So I think that that's something, too. Having standards is going to evolve as you evolve, which should be a good thing.
Right. We mature. We know what we need. What I needed as a 22-year-old is not what I need as a 40-year-old.
Right. And there might be some things continued from there.
Right. Like, and when I tell most, like, my clients when looking to, like, okay, what do you want to manifest love? What is it that you're looking for? I always tell everybody, make a list of 60 things. 60 things. Like, don't, like, but that's tall, that's dark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tall, dark, handsome, like,
Including
all of those things,
yeah.
right? And then, like, but also compassionate, you know, kind, loyal, those kind of things. And then first off, see where you land on that list. How many of those things are you at? Like, do you embody currently? Those are the things that you don't are the ones that you need to work on. Mm-hmm. But then of those things, and like I've been making my list for years now, okay? Yeah. But some get crossed out, like motorcycle, not as important as it was to me 4 years ago,
right,
you know?
Yeah.
Like now, you know what more is?
That
loyalty.
Be a bonus. Yeah,
yes.
Right?
I'd rather you be loyal than own a motorcycle. Yeah. That's, you know, like, so then I circle lists, is like, okay, and then what are these 6, like, non-negotiables for you? And those are, then become like, these are my standards: compassionate, loyal, honesty, having integrity, you know, like those kind of things. Like those are way more important than how much money you make.
The 6 is your standards?
The 6 is your non-negotiables. Okay. And that is like, because everything else, you know, comes and goes. Like, what are your core things?
Yeah.
Honesty, integrity, morals, good morals, you know what I mean? Like match my integrity, my morals, my values, being compassionate, which is so funny because I say I want someone that's compassionate, but I still find that I am lacking compassion for myself in situations and for...
So when you say compassionate towards you or compassionate for themselves as well?
Both. Like, it has to be. Yeah, if you can't be compassionate towards yourself, how can you be compassionate towards others? And I mean, I suppose like I am more compassionate towards others than I am to myself, but
I would say the same thing myself. Yeah.
Like it's easier because I mean that goes into a whole other healing thing then.
It's easier for some people, you
right.
know?
Yes. Like when we look outside and see like, okay, like I understand what you're going through, but I feel like for me, it almost sometimes like I lack self-awareness in that department of like, and I consider myself somebody very self-aware, but of when I'm lacking compassion for myself, where I can show up so compassionately for others. And I also, it's so interesting. Like I noticed even just yesterday in talking with my son that like I do lack compassion for certain people in certain aspects that I,
don't understand.
But then like a part of me is just like, well, that's just how it is. Yeah. It's so interesting.
But that's part of like having a standard too. Like you can have the compassion to say like, yeah, that sucks for you, but like I wouldn't have done it that way, or I don't think that that's like the best way to do it. So like that's also having a standard in some sense, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like you're like, oh, like I feel so bad for this person, like they can't figure out how to pay their bills, and it's like, but that's financially stable. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like, and it's like, so do I find compassion for that, or do I stick to that, like, that standard of like, are there standards that you have that?
Well, then I feel like that becomes boundaries, right? Like how financially stable, like how high is financially stable up on your list? And if they
Oh, wow. Well, let me tell you about my past.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm the most financially stable person. Trust me. Like, that's one thing on my list that I'd love to work on more. But I'm also like, I don't want to pay for every dinner. I don't want to pay for all the bills. Like, when it comes to that. But, like, I don't know if financially stable is something that caused a lot of problems in a lot of my relationships. Mm-hmm. So, does that sound like a bad standard that it is one of my top ones?
No, I don't like, but and then what is financially stable? Like, but and that's where I say, like, does it matter? And then boundaries come into play. Like, because I think of, like, we know that I like younger guys. So
she tends to
the universe presents me with them.
Yes, okay, there you go.
So like I have been living my life longer than most than some people. I have been working since a very young age. I was privileged enough, and I had this conversation yesterday with my son, like I've been working since I was like 12 years old. So I was taught financial responsibility very early on. I had to buy my first car at 15 years old. I was making car payments. Like, things weren't given to me. I still had to earn them from a very young age. So I'm tired. Like, I got tired real quick in life. And but I understand that some people, like, my son doesn't work. He doesn't, I overcorrected, if you will. And, like, some people don't have the same experience. Like, I was privileged. I was lucky enough to have a family restaurant that I was able to work at. Not everybody has that. And so when I say boundaries, it's like, if they are trying to figure their stuff out, do you lend them money? Do you say, oh, I'll take care of that?
Did I before or will I now? Because not that a completely different experience, but I grew up single mom, worked her ass off to provide us with everything she could. But I also started working young. But then I feel like it turned me into having, like, a soft spot or compassion for someone who didn't have their shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Not that my mom didn't have her shit together, but I also saw struggle, and struggle was normal to me.
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, I would meet somebody, and they'd be like, yeah, like, I have a job, but, like, just, like, barely making it. And I'd be like, oh, they'll figure it out. Like, I just need to help them out.
Uh-huh.
And I'm done helping people out. In that sense. Like, I think that I hope I can identify that more so than I have in the past. And recognize, like, a struggle because you're working hard and you haven't hit that point, and a struggle because you're not trying.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like in today's economy, and, like, I don't like to go, like, it is really hard, like, to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
And, like, again, like, I'm very blessed in being able to, like, it comes from somewhere. It always does, like, my bills are paid on time, but that to me is rich, like, that my bills are paid on time and that I have a little extra to spare, like, that's how I live my life, but I'd rather be rich in experiences than have all of the material things. That's just what's important to me. But so I ask for boundaries because I've been the one to be like, oh, sure, I'll pay for the, like, I'll give you this, you can pay me back. Guess who never got paid back? Right. So, like, for me, emotional, like, being there for me emotionally and being emotionally fulfilled is far more than, like, I would like for you to be financially stable, but being there for me emotionally, because I haven't felt that, like, don't feel that I've gotten to have that experience, is more important to me than financially stable. But I'm not going to lend you money. I'm not going to pull from here. Like, it's like, no, then that has to be separated. Like, and that to me that's a boundary.
Yeah.
Like, ideally, yes, we would have and also it depends on age. Like, how old? Is that wrong to say? How old are you? Like, if you're my age and you don't have your shit together, I don't have my shit together, though. Like, not completely, but enough where, like, I can take care of myself. I will never ask I do not have to ask to borrow money. Like, I figure it out.
Right.
I hustle when I have to, and I'm lazy when I can be.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Like, that could, like, see, because But
then I think it comes back to, I remember us, like, previously talking about, like, hey, the podcast, this is what we're talking about. And you said that your sister said, some people want you to open the car door, and some people just want you to have a car. And then I said, but consistency is my thing.
Yes.
So then that goes back into, like, opening the car door, having a car, like, okay, I would hope you'd have a car. But I would also hope that if you open a car door on our first date, second date, third date, 8th date, the 30th date, I hope you continue to do that.
Yeah. Same
thing with financially and emotionally. If you're emotionally there for me 1 through 3 months, that you continue to be emotionally there for me. So, like, consistency within all of these standards is probably my number one standard.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, like, loyalty, obviously, and then consistency, because I feel like every time I see these traits in somebody, they slowly fade away.
Yeah.
In majority of the relationships or situationships or whatever the the correct term is nowadays, like
dating, right? It's
yeah.
regardless of like, it's not situationship because
Yeah.
it's not like, but it's just undefined. It's not, you
Right.
haven't gotten to the point of definition yet.
Yeah.
So,
Which is dating, I guess.
yeah, it's just weird. Like for me, I didn't date before I got married, and then I was
Right.
in a 13-year relationship. So, like, I'm 40 now, but I didn't start dating for the first time until my late 30s, and that's
Which is like, we're opposite. Because I dated till I was 30, then had my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed with my daughter's father for the 4 years, and then, or 3 years, and then now back into it. So it's like we're in this, like, opposite same scenario, which is an interesting dynamic when we talk about dating, because it's kind of different.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I think there's been times where I'm like, well, haven't you been in a relationship? And you're like, no. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess you haven't. Yeah, like, have you been in a relationship where you just, like, felt like you should get out and you couldn't get out? And you're like, no. Like, you were in your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in those relationships where I'm like, God, this is not working. I need to get out of this. But felt compassion for the person and didn't want to leave them.
Yeah.
Sick.
I mean, it's not because, it's having compassion. It's having empathy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's sick. And I think, like, everything happens at the right time, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can look back and see, like, oh, well, if I had left earlier, or if I didn't try this, you know what I mean? Like, you exhausted all options.
Yeah.
And then it was, okay, like, you have nothing left. Cool. Now, now what? Then it's... And then even going through a breakup is hard, Like, actually, on the way here, I was thinking about that. Like, when you're, like, 'cause a lot of people are breaking up. Like, I just, because I'm always, like, constantly scrolling, right?
Yeah.
And there's people that are going through things. And, like, I know I haven't been in relationships, right? Like, I've had two relationships. And then... definitely a situationship.
Well,
and
you have to have at least one.
right, like there was the,
It's like
the
a badge of
toxic,
honor.
yes, like, okay, like that was like the toxic relationship after the ending of after the ending of my marriage. And I think, but even then there was one in between that. Like, when I'm looking back, like, okay, definitely started dating too soon.
But that's part of the healing process for some people. Is just dating and, like...
And then when I'm looking at it, like, it just kind of, things just happened,
Yeah.
Like, it just naturally, like, that person was, like, somebody that helped me navigate getting out of my marriage, like, it made the transitioning out, like, if that didn't happen, like, there's certain things, and, like, I can always look back and see why things happened the way that they did and what I learned from them. And, but even with those things, like, I know that it was friendship. Things were based on friendship, and that's important to me. Like, I do want my person to be my best friend, and I think that's natural. I think, like, how do you, like you can have your best friend, like, I do feel that my person, like, and looking at marriages, like my sister's marriages, like, their husbands are their best friends, like, and that should be, like, that to me is just kind of how I feel like it should be. You need to put especially when you have kids with somebody, like, and that's different for me now. Like, my husband was never my person, and, like, I'm no longer married. Like, but I feel like the way that it's always said is that's who you have to put first, even above your kids, because that's how you, like, that's how you show your kids how to be in a healthy relationship, and you are, like, then they imitate you, and I can see that, and that is what I want. Like, I want my person, to be my best friend, my lover, all in one. Not that but not my only.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even, like, in friendships, like, you are my best friend, but I have Kara's my best friend. You know, like, I have other friends that I go to for other things. Like, I have created, when I talk about, like, my support system, like, and y'all are so different. And it's different things that I can talk about, like, real life spiritual stuff, like, just, like, trauma, family shit, like, and we go to, like, other people. Yes, it's your tribe, right? Like you say, like, and like, I have found my tribe, and I love it so much, but I don't want to say missing, because there is nothing missing, but like with something that the person that ties it all together, like, because when you are in a healthy relationship, and I think that is because you've never been in a healthy relationship, like that's natural, right?
Yeah.
When you have a bad day, you want to go home, you want to like share and like to somebody, like that is, well, that, and I say you, but I mean, what I really mean is me, like, just like, I had a bad day. What did I say the other day? I go, I just want somebody to pat me on the head and say, it's okay.
Yeah.
You can stop being dramatic. Do you need to eat?
Yeah,
like that. Yes, like, are you hungry? Because I'm saying, like, my standards, though, I was like, just feed me and tell me I'm pretty. You know? Like, it's not, like, I'm not high maintenance. Not really. Like, just go through the list of what toddlers need. That's me.
Yeah.
Like,
our toddlers high maintenance.
maybe. I was gonna hit your knee.
Listen, you want to borrow Jordan for a day? Every 5 minutes, I'm hungry. I'm like, you just ate.
See, that's what it's really that simple, though. We're all 4-year-olds.
My daughter, 4 years old, she's standing at the sink. I've said 10 times, brush your teeth. And I'm like, brush your teeth. And she's like, I'm just tired. Like, now I'm thinking, Natalie, is this you? I'm just tired.
I'm just being dramatic. Yes. I'll be okay. Like,
okay, Jordan gets it from you.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If I know, like, hey, I'm being dramatic.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
You know, like, no, and I'm not.
But we all do it.
Right.
All of us.
Right, I just announce what's happening before I do. Like, I enter a room and, like, so it's like, I'm dramatic today. Like,
I'm warning you, this is my warning label.
Like, and I feel like I come with a warning. I tell you, I'm in a good mood.
Yes.
Yay, the sky, like, but also, I'm being dramatic. I'll be fine. I just need to get through this. And, like.
And then you do.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's fun.
And the support, the compassion is what we're looking for.
Right, yes, right. Like, if somebody had just patted me on the head and said, it'll be okay, and Natalie.
Said, you should think about how it affects those people.
Yes. Then things wouldn't have gotten, and I, like, in hindsight, like, I still think, like, then this is where it comes back to, like, compassion for myself. I was like, like, I couldn't even say that I'm proud of myself. A year and a half ago, would not have handled this past weekend as well as I did, where I could be like, I'm dramatic. I'd be like, oh my God, my life is falling apart, blah, blah, blah. Like, I would literally fall to pieces.
Yeah.
And, like, while I was spiraling, and I can recognize that, like, I didn't spiral as far down, like, it wasn't, like, life or death. Together, and, like, and it was still just being like, I'm being dramatic, I'm fine. I know this is my...
It's temporary.
Yeah.
Get through it. Yeah.
And it was like, this is my process before going through, like, I was having an anxiety attack, a panic attack, and this is my process. I needed to get all of this out so then I could focus and get my shit done. And I was just more vocal about it.
Yeah.
Because it was just heightened. And that's, like, and I know that, and anybody, like, I am very self-aware to say that. And then if that's too much for you, I'm not for you.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't need my listen.
Right? Like, like, exactly. Like, it goes into, like, I have been, and that's another, like, I've been told I'm too much, and I've responded with, then go find less.
Yeah.
That person did.
Well.
That was a blessing.
Yeah. But, I mean, really, like, too much is only too much for someone who can't handle you.
Right.
Or can't handle the situation, and I mean, you could say that about a lot of things, right? Like,
and what is
owning a business is too much, or driving a car is too much for people. Like, there's different levels of that. So just because you're too much for one person or too much for 5 people doesn't mean you are for everybody.
Right, and that's like I like, again, like, because I'm constantly scrolling Facebook or TikTok or something where it's like the one person's you're too much is another person's that's all you require. Yeah. Like, I'm just looking for that's all you require.
Right.
And that's a standard for me, like, is that I'm not too much, that you can handle me.
Yeah.
And not that I don't think I'm high maintenance. I think for the most part I am pretty chill, laid back. I am self-sufficient. I can do, like, I've been doing me by myself for a long time. So, like, I've figured it out. Like, I can look at what it is that I need and take care of it. And like I've gotten better about that. That hasn't always been the case.
Yeah.
And so like just somebody that adds value, that can just I just lost my train of thought on it. But like that I totally lost my train.
Value.
Yeah, it's not coming back to me. Like lost it. It's completely gone.
My question for you is there standards that somebody could present to you that you would like feel like you don't meet? That you could say about yourself, like, that's not something I have to give right now. And I'm bringing that up because of my recent situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing reflection on that. So go ahead and tell yours and then I'll feed into that.
That is, so then that I think goes back to like when I tell my clients to like make a list of 60, like, and what I say is even when I'm being combated with, well, you do, like you have too high of standards or something because my daughter told me that. Like, no, I had to have that conversation with her, but that's something else. Like, no, because I really do feel that I can meet all of my requirements. I have been. Like, I've had to figure out a way to. So, because I know that, and with energy and being able to, like, just I can be. And I do think that I could be anything, like, that I can meet everything on my list, and then I would be able to meet something on everybody else's list.
There's not anything that you think you could lack that you would. Like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be on your list. Like, so, for instance, with my last situation, like, time was supposedly what is the reason it fell apart. And I know, like, looking at the situation, like I said, I don't have the time. I don't have the time required for some people to create, like, a successful relationship at the moment. Like, I think somebody would have to be very patient with my time.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something like that in your, like, is there something that you'd be like, I can't meet that right now?
I feel like patience.
Okay.
Like, well, depending on, like, patience with time. Like, I'm at a point in my life where it's like, I do want someone that knows what they want.
Right.
And knows that it's me.
Yeah,
you know?
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't. Like, if they know it's you, they want to be with you. Like, if they don't have the time, would that be a deal breaker for you?
And that I think is funny because your, like, last relationship mirrored what, to me, quality time, like, and that goes into love languages. Quality time is important to me. I want to be, like, it's important to me. That, like, and so even talking to my last, like, 4-day relationship, like, talking to somebody was, like, his schedule was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's not going to work for me. Like, we can't even find time to meet up.
Right.
Then how are we going to actually get something off of the ground?
Yeah.
And so, like, that, like, but I do have more time. I do, like, I've created a schedule where I only work a couple hours a day. Like, I don't want, like, I've taken the work smarter, not harder situation. Not that, I'm not saying that you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to work any more than I do. And I have free time. I like my free time, unless I'm in my head. But,
same.
like,
which is why I don't have time.
Oh, God. Like, yesterday I was like, I don't want to go home. I'm bored. Oh, shit, I'm bored. I don't like when I'm bored.
Yeah. Fill my time.
Yes. But, like, so that wouldn't be, like, when and I don't know until I'm in the situation, right? Like, it was like, oh, because we were having these, like, essays, paragraphs of conversations, and we're going texting back and forth, and it's like, this is so promising, but then we could never actually meet up, and I'm like,
yeah.
I want something in real life. Like, I want, like, more than just, like, even though it was fulfilling in the depths of conversation that we were having, like, but if we couldn't find time to see each other, meet up with each other, then if it doesn't work at the beginning, how is it ever?
But don't you think that as you grow a relationship with someone, they, like, will tend to find time?
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't think I make time for people. Like, if a new friend was like, hey, do you want to go to lunch? I'd be like, probably don't have time. But, like, if you asked me to go to lunch, I'd be like, yeah, we can go to lunch. Let me figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's how I look at relationships or look at, like, dating right now is, like, I have to get to know somebody and to the point of where they, like, intrigue the fact of, like, me figuring out time too.
Right.
Like me setting aside time for them.
Yes. And
it's very intentional for me to find time for some other people besides Jordan.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Like, you kind of have to work your way up the ranks in, like, the important people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was trying to, like, in my specific example, it was trying to find time to meet up. And it was your birthday weekend. I was like, well, Vicky's got my, you know what I mean? Like, Vicky's got my whole, like,
Sorry.
whatever, whatever, like, we're doing, whatever I'm doing is going to be with Vicky. It's celebrating her birthday. And, like, and then it just, like, but fizzled out. But then it was never going to be anyways, you know? Like, that's okay. Like, but that is, like, I'm not going to put, like, oh, I want to meet up with somebody, like, just, like that is, no, I'm not going to put a maybe over an abso-fucking-lutely. Right, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you are a staple in my life. What do they say? Like, you'll be at the wedding, the groom is, you know what I mean? Like, but that goes with, and, like, that goes with healthy relationships. And we do have a healthy friendship, you know what I mean? Versus, like, I've said that in the past about people that haven't, that are no, there is nobody left over from that, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, it just, but you learn and you grow.
Yeah.
And I'm losing track of, the caffeine is so, like, I'm like, they're squirrels now.
That's why I was like, Starbucks probably would be fair. Yeah, Red Bull.
Oh, yeah.
Would have been like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Oh, okay. Just a second, we're at 30 minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, I think making time, but even in that, like, I think if it was secured, right? Like, and then it goes into attachment styles, right? Like, if I felt secure in the relationship, then okay, I'll see you when I can see you.
Whole podcast.
Yeah, right. I know. Like, but then, like, it's all, like, there's so many things. It's not like nothing can be cut and dry, because then it goes off and, like, into, like, it goes off. Well, yeah, no, I know that I'm capable of, where I'd be like, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, if I feel secure in that, but because of, like, my past traumas in, like, thinking I was secure, and then turns out, no,
yeah.
You know, like, that becomes a whole, like, oh shit, like, so it's establishing the security first, and then being like, okay, but also, and I think in your last most recent thing, that becomes with how secure you are with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, are you just trying to fill your time because you're running from something in your head?
Right.
Then you can't be that to somebody anyways. You have to be right on the inside in the first place. And so if you're just looking to fill space, then you're not for me anyways, because I have cultivated like relationships and a life that I love, and that, like, everybody adds value. There is not a single person, there is not a single thing that I do that does not add value to my life.
Yeah.
So I am not like, oh, like, if you're busy, it's not like, oh no, what am I gonna, you know what I mean? Like, I can do, like, but I'm okay being alone. Yeah. That's the thing, is like, well, yeah, no, I'm like, I want to say, until yesterday I was just not, like,
times,
like, I'm like, I could have went home and did my paint by numbers thing, but I just didn't want, like, I just was like, and it's getting dark out, so I couldn't go on an adventure, like, but even if I'm like, I'm bored. The other night, I drove to Hampshire to see if I could see the Northern Lights. I did not, but I, like, by myself at 10 o'clock at night, just drove just to see if I could see something, and I didn't, but that was just something I wanted to experience for myself. It wasn't because I was like, oh, I can't be in my head, or, you know what I mean? And there's times where I don't want to be in my head, and, like, to say, like, that was, like, me
fulfilling your life,
right? Like, I truly enjoy my own company, so I'm not looking to somebody to fill the void, because there is no void, you know. And that is, I think, kind of what happened in your last one. Is that it was just more like, I want to spend my, like, but you have like, your energy is good, right? So, like, you find, like, I want to spend time with you because I love how I feel when I'm around you, and those things. But you have to love how you feel around yourself first. And that is
harder to do.
Right. And but it's not like
people even notice that that's, like, something that they lack. Yeah. Because, I mean, that's something I think I struggle with, too. That's why I constantly stay busy. But I constantly stay busy with, like, friends or family, or, you know, like, I've really fulfilled my life and turned it into, like, a life that I love. Like, I truly love my life. So then I, like, look at other people that want, or that, like, say like, oh, you don't have time for me, and it's like, okay, well, I found time for all the other people that I love, and like filling my cup with them, or and finding a balance.
That's what I was gonna say. As I'm hearing balance.
Yeah. Which, well, I struggle with, like, just literally doing everything I can to be at everything I can is like something I struggle with in general. So I think the pressure of like, oh, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and it's like, well, that's not fair because I really do try.
Yeah.
So it's a standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think I met that standard in whatever capacity it is for that person.
Do you think that you can meet all of your requirements?
Whew. I feel like I'd have to relook at them. It's been a minute since I've relooked at, like, which I should do that in general.
I think also that I do think that, like, anytime you come into contact with something that has a possibility, you have to re-examine after, like, okay, back to the drawing board. Like, that, like, I put out there what I wanted to get, like, wanted to receive from the universe. It didn't work out. What would I change about it? And then, like, okay, like, go back. What do I need? Like I think you need somebody that understands what, what an entrepreneur you are and what, like, goes into a business and, like, how hardworking you are.
Yeah. I'm a single mom. I think that where I lack is consistency, which is funny because that's, like, the number one thing on my list, because I don't think I would consistently put anybody in a space until they've, like, really proven themselves. Versus, like, I think that is something that, like, I would want from somebody. I would want them to show me consistency.
Do you think that's trauma? And you don't have to, like...
It's all trauma. It's all trauma. Yeah, because I think I've, like, always... Or I've commonly been consistent with people and been able... Especially before Jordan. Like, I was able to give my all to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like I am less willing to give my all to everybody, and I'm more willing to give my all to Jordan. And I don't think anyone will ever replace that. But, like you said, you're supposed to put your significant other before your child. And that's, like, an interesting thing because that's not going to happen for years to come, right? Like,
right. Well, and I think that is the father of your children, specifically.
Okay.
Like, I've said that, and sorry to interrupt, like...
No, you're fine.
Because, like, as somebody that comes from a split, like, my parents divorced, and my mom consistently puts her, even as an adult, like, it's like, no, I feel like you put your husband first unless they're not your kid's father. Like, she put him first. And it's hard even for, like, she put him first when we were younger, when he was going through cancer treatment and everything. Like,
Your dad.
My dad, yes. Yeah. And then, like... It's kind of what she had to do. Like, he was going through cancer, and it was...
She should have.
Right. Like, I just think it's different when that is not when he... Right. Like, then it's like, okay, like, I can help you out if my husband's not busy.
But I think I do want that. Like, I hope that the person that I end up with not only is... Like, yes, he's, my husband or my person or whatever, but also creates a relationship with Jordan where it is, like, a father role, so that I would put him first because he would be putting her first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like, the trickle of, like my Uncle Pat, who, I refer a lot of my, like, goals, like, relationship goals or life goals. Like, I just look up to him in many ways. Like, he says, like, even in the Bible it says that, like, he says he puts my Aunt Karen first before his two sons.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, like, wild to me because he puts his son, like, even me, I'm on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And his sons are on a pedestal. And then my Aunt Karen is, like, this, like, angel in the sky for him. Like, and he really would do anything for all, me, who I'm just his niece, his sons, and then my Aunt Karen as well. And it's like, he still finds that balance, but, like, I've been in situations where I'm, like, listening to him talk to the boys, my cousins, and it is like, your mom first. Like,
yes.
I don't care what you say, your mom said this, or I don't care what you think, your mom thinks this. And, like, he even takes it out of himself. Like, even if he doesn't agree with what my Aunt Karen's saying, it's still my Aunt Karen, what she said. And I hope that eventually I find somebody that too, like, puts me on a pedestal, which, high maintenance, right?
No, standards, damn it, standards.
I'm on this pedestal he's on a pedestal, but then, like, our kids are just, because we're both at being treated as the highest, or, like, with the most regard, that our kids are just in the balance somewhere.
Yeah.
Because we're both
your team.
So high. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We're holding each other so high, so the kids, like, if we're on a scale and we're both equally as high, the kids are right in the middle. You know? And that's hopefully where Jordan will fall, and, like, I won't have to worry about putting him first, because he'll always put Jordan first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how my uncle explained it to me, and, like, that is, like, what I want, but I haven't met anybody willing to, like, that I'm like, oh, wow, you know, like, and Jordan is on such a pedestal. Like, I put Jordan above myself even, you know, and I think that's, like, the standard, right? Like, if I can find the standard of this person will not outweigh Jordan, but create the balance for us to be equal with her in the middle, would be ideal.
And see, I think, like, I totally understand where you're coming from, and, like, in hearing you, like, my situation's different because my kids are teenagers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they need things in different ways than a 4-year-old. I was going to say a high maintenance. Like, and she's not. I mean, she's just Jordan. But, you know, like, she's a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just been 10 years since I've had a 4-year-old, you know? So,
crazy.
Like, so it's in different ways. I think that at that age, like, I would need, like, you need to, like, this is what this little human needs to come first, because we are, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, and not that my kids don't come first, but they are more self-sufficient. Like, I've raised good humans where they're not kids anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they are, but they're navigating lives in their own, you know? Like, it's more of, like, just guiding them and being there for them versus, like, the process of teaching of all of, you know, like, it's just different. So for me, like, that's why I'm looking for, it's just, like, something different, because it's, no, put me first. Like, I do, like, I need, and that's one of the, then that brings up, like, the list and being a priority, you know, is I do need to be somebody's priority, not like, oh, this comes first, this comes first, this comes first. Like, I'm able to make, and maybe I'm less able to now than I was 2 years ago before I started a business, right? Like, I would have been more capable of making somebody a priority, and now it's like, no, I need to split my energy in these ways, because, like, this doesn't run itself.
Right.
And eventually, maybe, but no, never, not really.
But then your person too, right? Like, is, like, your, like, the shop or your suite or your business isn't going to run itself, and, like, you're putting that such on a high pedestal, right? And your person would do that as well, because that's a successful relationship, as somebody who can support you and, like, do those things with you. And it might not be the highest thing on their pedestal, but or at the highest thing on their list, you know, but that's part of, like, consistency and priority, is, like, that's part of you. And, like, recognizing that.
Yes.
Like, important.
Yeah, you know, and and again, like, it wasn't something that, I mean, at one point I had to be told that I needed to be made a priority, because it was just so odd. Like, my standards, like, I didn't have any. And, like, even Oliver will say, well, you had no standards. Like, so, like, but did you overcorrect, Mom?
Yeah, he says that.
Yes. And I don't think so. Like, and I don't. And he's like, no, he's like, actually, like, you don't really have that. Like, it's not, you know, like, it's not, I have walls, because, like, if I love you, you can do no wrong, you know? So it's like, okay, like, you have to be willing to go through these things. And, like, that is where it's like, I do require, I want to say it's like 5 things, really, realistically, but those are things that are hard for people to do, which is interesting. Who would have thought loyalty was hard? Like, who would think honesty is hard?
Yeah, right. And I think too, like okay, if we start with like our 5 things, right, and like somebody meets those things, do we then say, oh, let me like, not like literally, but like then do you start to like pull out those other things on your list, like, okay, yeah, they're loyal, yes, they're compassionate, yes, they're consistent, yes, they're romantic, yes, their energy's good. Let's just say those are the top 5, and they're like, all of them done. Then are you like, are you financially stable? Do you
clean up after yourself? I don't know. It's
right,
like sloppy.
Like
those
don't
be
things
sloppy.
Start to play in because you're like, okay, you've like almost like passed the pop quiz, you know, and then it's like, here's the test, you know, because I think that we look for those 5 things when we're dating, right? Like, okay, on dating apps, or like say you're dating somebody and you're like, are they these things? And then you're like, oh, 3 out of 5. Like, nope. But if somebody met those 5 things and met them within, you know, a period of time where we're like, okay, we're moving forward with this, then it's those other things that start to play a part too, which are standards, yes, but like just not. So then would those 5 or 6 to 30 play a part in like, is it going to work out? Or do those 5 things hold such strong value that the other things would? Like, how strong are those other standards? Because I think my list, like, I could probably pull up my list and it's 30 plus, you know? And I've never, like, said these 5 are my top 5, but...
I think connection and compatibility go above and beyond those things. Like, and then for me, it's like, well...
At what stage in the relationship?
Like, right, yeah, you know, and like I've been in a 13-year relationship, I lived with somebody for 13 years, right. And not to, you know, like, in no disrespect, but neither one of us was a healthy human at that point, right. Like, and we've grown, and so, like, I've just grown, like, I am not the same, I got married at 22, I am not that person anymore, right, you know, seriously. Like, that was almost half my life ago, oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy to think about. Like, it's wild. And even then, we were only together for 6 months before we got engaged.
Yeah.
A year, like we had Oliver less than a year, like, it was 3 weeks before our 1-year wedding anniversary. Wow. So, like, we were not ever we didn't have anything to build on before we were thrown into, like, you know. Travel. Yes, yeah. So, like... then it was just like, well, whatever. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, well, I would get annoyed by the, like, put the dish in the dishwasher, not above the counter on the dishwasher, you know? Like, I don't know, but I feel very much that if you water me, I will water you. Like, if you take care of me emotionally, I will not care that dish is on the dishwasher or, like, on the sink.
Think that, though.
You don't think so?
No.
Like, but it's been because I have been taking care of myself for so long and living on my own for so long, like... I do that shit anyways. Mind you, like, I lived with...
Yeah, but you're not cleaning up after somebody.
I mean, well, I did for years with my kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just kind of second nature. And I don't know because it's been so long.
I think I'm looking for somebody that would help with those things.
I mean, ideally, right? There's standards, there's non-negotiables, and there's ideals.
Yeah.
So then what falls into your ideals? Ideally, they wouldn't be sloppy. Ideally, they'd see, oh, she's having a rough day, let me take care of this. You know? And I know that's a fucking standard. That is a standard, damn it.
Like, I cannot imagine being in love with somebody and thinking, like, I just worked 10 plus hours. And then come home and the fucking dish is above the dishwasher. Like, motherfucker, put it in the thing. Like,
yes.
And then I think to myself, for, like, relationship-wise, like, it's always perfect the first few months, right? Like, so then those other things start to come into play, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then
maybe I'm just a man.
Oh God, I know, right? And then that's the thing. Like, no, just because I have standards and it doesn't make us man haters. like, no, we know what I want, and it's easy to call somebody a man hater because people settle. Like, and Jessica, at this point, we're refusing to settle because we've settled. I've settled enough in my life.
Yeah.
I've settled enough. I'm done.
I've watched too many people settle.
Yes.
Really
yes. And I would rather be alone than unhappy.
Yeah.
And granted, like, some of those days where I feel very alone are hard and I wish I could settle, but I've come too far to only make it this far.
Right.
And at the end, like, there's like a thing in me that screams, no, no. So I can't go against that. Like, and I think it's sad with the, like, again, like, the going back to, like, the being high maintenance, like, to being called high maintenance for having standards is like, no, I'm okay being alone.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Maybe that's something that you need to look back at yourself for, and, like, in the kindest way possible, because no judgments. It is very hard to be alone. I have had moments where it's like, I would rather die than be alone right now. Like, it feels that way, but I've made it through, like, and am better for it.
Yeah.
Because I would rather be alone than be in another toxic relationship and to be where I was. And that's not even talking about my marriage.
Yeah, right.
Because that was the best I've been in.
Right. You said that, right?
It only went downhill from there.
Yeah.
So, like, I just think, yes, but so we have bad days. You know what I mean? Like, how can I expect somebody to have the house clean all of the time when I don't have the house clean all of the time?
Right, absolutely, yeah. And I don't think like
but I say if it's a bad day, I know you're having a bad day, let me help you out. That is the standard. An ideal is them doing it all of the time.
But that could be, not necessarily like doing the dishes, but just like, hey, I ran the bathroom when I go take a bath.
Yeah.
And then I could come out of the bath and there could be a fucking sink load of dishes and I'd just be like, fuck it. They'll be there tomorrow.
Yes, yeah.
Like, but like the compassion or the, and if somebody is giving me that, I would want to be able to give that to them as well. And like finding the compassion to be like, well, he made dinner and there's a bath.
Yeah.
And who cares if there's a dish full of sink?
Yeah.
A sink full of dishes.
Yeah.
Or, the other things that like are irritating or frustrating in relationships, because no matter what, there's going to be like nobody's perfect, even us. Like we are well aware of like.
I hold myself to higher standards than I hold other people to.
Same.
So, like, that's when it says, like, I can meet my own standards.
Yeah.
So, I don't think I'm high maintenance.
And I think, too, like, we've continued to evolve through. Like, I hope that the person I was a year ago, I'm, like, at least 10 steps higher than that. Because I don't. Like, some people go down, in between relationships and let the toxic relationship really, like, defeat them, or the, bad relationship really change who they are and, like, guard them or jade them.
It is so hard to not.
And there's things that I feel like I'm jaded in, like having compassion for somebody who's, like, not financially stable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm jaded because of that. So, like, it's hard for me to look at somebody and be like, what do you mean? Like,
see, I can hold space, and like even to go, like, I think of, like, I can hold space and be like, okay, you can talk to me about it, but I'm not going to figure it out for you. Like, I will not give, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, I just, like, that is not, I don't think that teaches lessons, but not that I'm trying to be a teacher, but also I know, like, how those lessons work, and it's almost like you're preventing them from learning. It's enabling. That's, you know what I mean? It becomes enabling, and then maybe once, but...
Yeah, but that's who I am as a fixer.
Yes.
Like a nurturer. I get that from my mom.
Yes, but I feel like that as mothers, like, that's kind of a natural thing. It's like, I even, like, and when you're telling me something, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I wish there was something that I could do to fix this. Like, and, like, that's just our natural, like, you see somebody that is going through something, you want to help them.
To make it all better.
Yes, and it does take, like, boundaries to hold space and not fix.
And then... somebody that doesn't take advantage of it. So, like, if you find somebody that you're like, okay, like, I really would love to help them. And, like, even if we take monetary situations out of that, like, oh, their car's broke. Like, oh, okay, here, use my car. Like, then taking advantage of it. Or, come over, let me make you dinner. Like, I'm not feeding you every day. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like there has to be a balance to that. Like, you have to give and take in everything in a relationship.
And in how, yes, but like as you're saying that, I'm thinking of like a client that I had that was talking to me about their significant other and how they had said to them, we're in this together. Like he was going through some shit like, and like I think of like that's who I am though, like at some point, but once it's established, once you're secure, once it's kind of like, oh shit, like we're in life together, like we're in this together, then it's not like you need to figure it out. Like but it's don't lean on me too much. Like I want somebody that I can lean on. That is one of my things because I just feel like I've just not had that in so long. I do want somebody that I can lean on. But I don't need somebody to lean on all of the time.
Yeah.
So, like, is there a point in which that changes? Where it's like, okay, I'm willing to help.
Yeah.
You know, and not just hold space, but I feel like it's situational. For me, it's reading the energy, like, oh shit, what are you trying to do here? You know, like, and it's just being able to discern what is actually going on. But I haven't made it out. Like, I haven't made it to, like, my, like, I have, apart from the 13 years, like, I haven't made it to that stage where it's like, we're in this together. Like,
and like,
although I am ride or die, like I really am a ride or die person, but like you have to earn it.
I'm not a ride or die anymore.
Oh, see, like this in my heart and in my soul, I am ride or die, but it's just got to be with the right person.
What we're doing, like you have to lay it all out for me, and I'll tell you if I'm taking the ride.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've ride or died way too many times. Like, no,
the wrong people. And that is one of the things that I said in my last talking stage was like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally ride or die. It's just for the right person. Like I've been ride or die for the wrong, but not even in just like in like romantic relationships, but in friendships. I've been ride or die for the wrong people. So like now you have to like, I'm ride or die for you, girl. Like what is it, until 9 p.m. or so? No.
Right. And then we're out, you know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm at the point I could ride or die right now. I don't think I can. But I don't think I could, and maybe that's why I don't, you know, I go back and forth so much with, like, am I ready to date? Like, am I looking to date to fill a void, or am I looking to date because I'm ready? And I don't know if I'm ready because I really don't think I'm, like, ready to commit, like, that level of myself anymore. Or at this moment. Like, I'll ride or die for my daughter, most of my family. No, I would from my family and friends, but I don't know, like, I guess maybe I'd ride or die for somebody who already was riding and dying for me.
Right,
which
like
is not what I've ever had, I don't think.
Right. And I think like I've always been a ride or die, like, and that's what me and my ex were, right?
Yeah.
It was ride or die, or we're in this together. And not that it wasn't successful, like, I do consider my marriage to be successful.
Yeah.
Like, it ended, but, like, there was a 10-year toxic cycle.
Yeah.
But, like, the last 3 years we tried working on it, granted, you know, like, and they don't have to go into specifics, but... Like, and I think of the whole, like, standards is he kind of did set high standards for me in that regards, even though, like, because while we worked on our relationship, he would randomly show up with flowers, you know, like, so that's, like, knowing you know, like, it was like, oh, you had a bad day, I'll do these things. He would bring me coffee every morning in bed, you know, like, but I would also, like, stop and bring him flowers and leave him in his car when he at the train station, and I'd leave flowers in his car, like with a card say, you know, like if I was someone, it was like Superman underwear, and I was like, thank you for being my Superman, and doing things like that. And that's the whole, like, we're in this together, like the give and the, like, I want to be able to feel safe in doing that, and not, like, I like to give as much as I like to receive.
Yeah.
And so, like, he did show me that men are capable of it. Ultimately, that relationship was too far gone to be saved, you know.
Consistently, though.
So that, but I didn't ride it out for like.
That is my thing.
I
see it in many men.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have many men, but I see men. I mean, okay, so backstory: I work with women all day, so like, I have conversations with women where like men do these things.
Yes.
Temporarily.
Oh.
And not I mean, I don't know about all of them, but not flowers and, doing like romantic things, but just being consistent is such a struggle for men.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think the effort's there consistently. And literally the effort. Like,
Yeah.
taking the moment to say, this is what I should do for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I see more women doing it. Like, I have girls that will come in and be like, a girl, like, she baked cookies for this guy that she's, like, not even dating, like, almost situationship. Like, yeah, I baked him cookies and, like, brought him to his house because he was, like, telling me he had a taste for chocolate chip cookies. And I'm like, don't do that.
Girl, same.
And she's like, why? And I'm like, has he baked you fucking cookies?
Uh-huh.
She's like, well, no. And I'm like, well, what has he done for you? And it's sad that that's, like, my reaction. It's like, well, what has he done for you?
Yeah.
Is it tit for tat, or is it...
So, that is a very interesting, like, I think about raising a son. And what, you know what I mean? Like, when Oliver is amazing,
Yeah.
like, that they, like, he's there for me emotionally. And, like, so I know that it's fucking out there. He's a 17-year-old and he can do it.
Right.
Like, but also, like, well, ultimately, one of the reasons I decided to leave my marriage is because I wanted my daughter to know that you don't have to stay when you're unhappy.
Right.
And, like, standards, and this is not okay. Break the pattern, break the cycle. And, so when last week she said to me that my standards were too high, I had to put her in her place. And I was like, then yours are too low.
Yeah.
Like, no, I did not go through everything so that you can feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, that's wrong. And, like, it was to show, and it sounds terrible to say, it was to show my son that he should not treat a woman that way, and to show my daughter that you don't have to stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's my perspective. And then, like, my ex will have whatever his perspective is and whatnot, like, probably the same. But
Well, and then there's people that say, like, you should show your kids to fight for your marriage. And it's like...
I did for 2 years. So, you know what I mean? I did show them. And in that moment, like, I was, like, so I went through it all, right? It was
right.
like, we go through everything. And then it's like, okay, no, now it's... Like, I hope that every woman knows that they can choose that themselves.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of it, choose you. Annabelle, at the end of it, choose you.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay, and it winds up okay.
Yeah.
And I think even, like, to circle back to probably something we said a half an hour ago was, like, everyone's going through breakups. And every breakup that I've gone through has been, like, I don't know that... Like, it didn't feel like I could survive this. And I am better. You know what I mean? Like, those are temporary things. Like... It will be okay. Life goes on. It's a temporary emotion. And, like, you work through it. Like, it's mourning any relationship, right? Like, so it's just thinking, like, but that's where standards and boundaries come into place because I love hard.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I want to change about myself. And we've had this conversation before. Like, I have to have those boundaries and I have to have high standards because when I love, I'm ride or die. I give you all of me.
Yeah.
And I am incredible. Like, and, like, even my bad isn't that bad. Like, it's just dramatic first.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and then I'll get through it. And,
yeah, like, and I just think, like, so if that is just something that I have to have in place, like, and if at the end of it, like, oh, like, but even what did Oliver goes, well, what are you looking for? I was like, I'm looking for somebody to do life with. And his 17-year-old response was, well, people aren't looking for that.
It's true, though.
Ew! Why don't you...
Temporary.
Like, that's, like, I am not a temporary person.
Me neither.
And that's, so it's, like, it feels like inside because,
Yes.
like, I am not made for temporary.
No, me either, but I don't think people are built to withstand what
They don't make them like they used to anymore.
Yeah, and I don't think too. Like, I think people are quicker not to give up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because, like, it's the attention span, right? Like, oh, like, it is to give up because it's like, oh, I could just swipe again, especially, like, so my only dating experience has pretty much been online dating because it didn't exist. I got married in 2006.
Yeah.
I didn't leave until 2020. So, like,
that's what dating is now.
yes, yeah, it's like, I mean, that's also, like, COVID.
And it's again, constant validation or constant,
yes,
stimulation.
Yes, and it's just okay.
They're not giving you what you need.
Thank you, next.
If you went on a date, it was all right, he was this. Well, let's see what the next date And you're now, you text 3 times and then they're boring and you're block or done or on to the next, And it's that's how quick you have the opportunity to intrigue someone or and most of the time I feel it's you're thinking intrigue me.
Uh-huh.
And they're thinking intrigue me.
Uh-huh.
So then we're
right.
A magnet away from, when you turn the magnet and they just bounce
off
of each
yeah.
other,
yeah.
It's and I'm well, I'm the girl. You should be doing this.
That's what I feel you should be trying to work for me. I am a goddess. Yes. I am a queen. And that is not high maintenance. But, that is.
Is that how the world looks at it now?
That's, well, maybe. And that's what, Oliver said to me.
Man in here.
I know. That would be nice. But where are they? See, I'm not a man hater.
Can you come into a podcast and talk about relationships, even though you probably suck at them?
For real though, and I would love to get a man's perspective on those things, and and I've thought about that. I have, and in having an episode about well, this is how I feel. What do you feel? Because for me, I know you water me, I will water you. I do want to hear what you are your deepest, darkest. I do want to feel where do you feel that I am not meeting you, because I want to learn and I want to fulfill you as much as you fulfill me, because I have not been fulfilled. So I know what that feels like, and I want to help you. Granted, you can't look outside of yourself, but there's ways this is where I'm lacking. What can I, mostly I just feel it's about having to speak it and say this is where I'm feeling. You know what I mean? And then. Yes, well, that's that. That one is not. We haven't even. That is so funny. Oh my God, that is, and that's probably that is that is up there. You have to be able to talk about how you feel. But which Oliver
wraps into emotionally available.
Yes, and that is it. That's what I was saying. You need to be there for me emotionally.
We need to really look at our top 5.
Yeah. Because I just keep saying morals, integrity, value, but it's being
emotionally available, honesty.
Yeah. Oh shit. That's more than 5.
Changing it to the top 10. Literally.
Yes, for real,
Listen,
for real.
Don't settle with 5. We don't settle.
And then, but I swear, if once it gets to past 20, then it's high maintenance. Okay.
We're not high maintenance.
That is what Oliver said to me. He's you were born to you weren't born you should have been born for before your time.
Yeah.
Because and she's chivalry is dead. It's not, because to me chivalry is not holding the door open. Yes, that is I do think people, right. That is and not car door. You know what I mean? But walking into a restaurant, hold the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's being a gentleman.
Yeah.
Chivalry to me is I can't describe it, but I know it when I will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, for me, everything has to do with being emotional, being there emotionally, because the physical, I got that shit down.
Yeah.
I am an emotional being. Yeah. And so it's just being there for me and it really is not making me feel too much, because I've been told I've been too much by too many people.
Yeah.
And I'm not for the right person. And that is not high maintenance. That is just it. Chivalry.
Thank you. Is do you think that's dead, but emotionally available is really what you're looking for? Or not necessarily dead, but is that something you're looking for? Is emotionally available and compassionate, right?
Yes.
Because I don't know if that, to me, those are different. I'm gonna look up the definition of chivalry. Why am I struggling?
I remember when I first made my list, and I find it just so funny that number 1 was being romantic. Number 2 was buys me flowers. And those are so far down on my list. Number 1 is loyalty. That, without a doubt. And I just do not talk shit. You know what I mean? And how do you, it's so hard to describe when it's just a feeling. I think I wrote the other day, it was I will know it, I'm looking for a hug, this, and I will know it when I feel it, and I just haven't felt it yet.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting Well, because it goes back to knights. It's a medieval knightly system. So...
That's funny.
Its qualities expected of ideal knight, especially courage, honor.
That shit's funny.
But, like, you know
it's
what I mean?
ironic.
Like, if we
Sorry.
put that into relationship, like, so... That's interesting. Readiness, helping the weak. Which is interesting.
This is so interesting.
So, like, similar words is, like, bravery, heroism, daring, honor, integrity, fairness, loyalty, consistency, trueness, truthfulness.
So we can chalk up my top 5 to just being chivalrous.
Right.
And then make space.
So listen,
it is
her
those
standards
things.
aren't high.
I just want chivalrous.
Yeah. So that's interesting that's like what it comes from because, right, like honorable, like an honorable man.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider yourself an honorable man? Which we always say, like, are we a high value woman? Like,
right.
Are you an honorable man?
I laugh so much when I, like, in some of our conversations, it's like, as a high value woman, the things that I put up with. Like, oh, some of the things where I'm like, oh, yeah, no, that's okay. Like, oh, shit, how do I think I'm a high value woman? I am. I have standards now.
Yes, but she is high value, but not high maintenance.
Yes, there is a difference.
Okay.
There is a difference. I love that you looked up chivalry. I think that is, it's so ironic, especially with everything that, like you know, to go like into the energy with everything that's happening energetically. It's so fitting. It's so interesting. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That is so interesting.
Honorable, noble, truthfulness.
Brave. Courageous.
What was the other word that I was just like, what was it? Like,
what is it? Like, oh, what did Kara say to me? Like, you want, like, because confident. So I want somebody that's confident was on my list. And I can, like...
Readiness to help the weak is interesting to me. Okay, sorry.
Why?
Because I feel like what you're saying, like, emotionally, like, I'm, like, emotionally available. When you're, like, when you're weak, like, you want someone to be ready, have the readiness to help you.
Right.
So, like, that is...
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's why I was like, that's very interesting because that is what we want. Like, we want to be able to be weak and then be ready to help us.
Now I understand the whole, I want my knight in shining armor. Oh, my God.
Listen. Speaking facts.
But yeah, because I think, like, because I don't think about me as weak at all by, like, on the exterior. But it is,
Weak
and that's why I'm saying, like, emotionally, like, that is, like, be there for me when I am having a weak moment, but never physically, externally.
We can all be weak at a moment, right?
Right,
like,
yeah. We should be. We cannot
be able to.
Yes.
And that's the thing, like, okay, so if I go into, like, therapy, like, my therapist is always like, why do you think of being vulnerable as a bad thing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why do we think of being weak as a bad thing?
Well, I think weak and vulnerable are the same.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't for other people.
Like,
and I've always say is like vulnerability is on my list, actually, able to be vulnerable, because I do think of it as a huge strength.
Right.
Because I know the freedom that I have found in being able to, like, even through shaking, like, this is how I feel. I'm not mad, I'm hurt. Mm-hmm. Being able to say, I'm not angry, because everything comes up as anger, right? Like, to be like, no, I'm just hurt. Like, to be able to look past that, and because that's taking down the wall, to be like, you have the ability to hurt me.
Sucks.
Yes. Yeah. But there is so much, like, release in being like, you have the ability to hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, that is taking the armor off, right? Yeah. And that is, like...
the readiness to help the weak.
Yes. I want to be able to take my armor off around you. Like, I have to go out to this world fully... As a knight, I hate that. I hate that. No. But, like, so, like, I want to be able to take my armor off around somebody. And I don't think that is high maintenance. I don't think that is, like, I don't think I'm asking for too much. Because I want you to be able to do the same. I want you to be able to do the same for me. Like, I want you to take your armor off. I want you to tell me. I want to hear your vulnerability. It will make me love you more, I swear to God. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, when I get to see the true you and not the person that you're presenting to everybody, because everybody does that, right? Yeah. Like, that that is when it's like, okay, I love you more for it, even if it's stupid fucking shit. Like, I love you more for your ability to tell me that you feel weak in this moment, and for whatever it may be. Like, it's always stupid things. It's always, you know,
something in our head.
Yeah, like from years, from childhood. Like, it's just, yeah, like I have always loved someone more when they've been able to actually be vulnerable. Like, that is, like, I fall in love with vulnerability.
Yeah.
But I am also able to see through the armor, and that has gotten me in trouble.
Well, that's part of what you do as a business.
Yes,
so,
that is
I
my blessing and my curse.
Yeah, I can't imagine that dynamic of it, because it doesn't seem easy in the dating world, at least. I mean, even in any world, but I think that I was gonna say something about chivalry that I can't think of it, but yeah, I it's interesting to put vulnerability and chivalry, like, and weakness all together in one conversation, because I don't think that we, like, I wonder if I would consider myself chivalry.
That's interesting.
Which is that compassion too?
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, that's what I was about to say. Like, oh, because that's the compassionate thing. The readiness to help the weak is having compassion. Interesting. Yes.
Which is vulnerable.
Yes. Listen. Everything.
I'm gonna add that to my list, because I don't think chivalry is on my list.
Right, but it's in 5 different things.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if you just, like, it
ties it all together.
But chivalry isn't opening a door to me.
No. Well, especially now it's not.
Right.
Like now I'm like, don't tell me you have chivalry when you're displaying
the opposite.
Yes. I was gonna say a nice word.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally just, it's crazy. That's crazy to me. That's interesting. Again, I want a male's perspective.
Yeah.
We have to, I don't know who we could have that would be, like, common ground. And then I would, like, think, like, a single man versus a married man.
It would be interesting to see, like, somebody that is in a relationship, yeah, and how, like, in a length of time, because like, relationships go through phases.
Yeah.
Of, like, there are, like, and I would always say you have seasons, right? Like, but in long marriages, like, you have good years and bad years, and even through, like, my marriage, it wasn't a toxic 10 years. Like, we just were living next to each other,
right, yeah,
like,
roommates,
but
that
like
phase.
yeah,
they say that happens when raising kids in general.
Yes, yeah. Right, and not having built an actual relationship on solid ground before having kids was something. But, like, we would have bad years. Like, I remember, like, 2010 was a bad year for us. That was, like, the year my dad died. You know, like, we would have significant things where it was just bad years.
Do you think your ex-husband had chivalry?
No, I think that he pretended to.
Inconsistently?
Yes, I think.
So he did when you guys were working on the marriage?
Yes.
Or he did at points throughout the marriage as well? No.
I don't think so. I mean, I'd have to actually, like, take some time to go through, because 13 years of, like, in moments, but not consistently.
When your dad died, I'm sure he was there for you. Or no?
That, yes, no.
No. Okay.
Yes and no. Like, that's the thing, is only to the ability that he had to be there for himself, and which he didn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, and I don't want to, because I can't, like I can think of specific examples, like my dad died, like, on my birthday, so, like, my birthday's always been a hard thing for me, so he would just know, and, like, I would just fight so hard and be so, like, mean around that, like, the anniversary of that, and i.e. my birthday. And, like, he would just be like, let me, you know, like, I'm trying, like, but nothing he could do was good enough. Like, and it's not to say, like, we were toxic to each other. Like, we just
Right.
didn't know how to, like, so he would, but it was around significant events. It wasn't like always, like,
Yeah.
I didn't get flowers until after, you know what I mean? Like, until after the fact. Like, we tried putting our marriage back together. That was when I had to say specifically, I want this,
Yeah.
and like, but no, there was never, no.
Do you think it's okay to tell somebody, like, if they're not doing those things? Do you think it's okay to tell somebody, like,
That's a good question.
like, I feel like you should be doing this, or, like, I want to go on more dates, or I want flowers, or,
I do. I'm very vocal.
yeah.
And does that make me high maintenance? Like, that's where, but now I call vocal because of the way that I've been conditioned in life to be being dramatic. Like, I say, I'm being dramatic. Like, no, I'm just expressing emotions.
Yeah.
Why do I think that that's being dramatic? Because I'm telling everybody I'm being dramatic,
Yeah,
but it's
you're
just
putting
telling
it
me,
out there.
right,
Yeah.
it's just me expressing an unpleasant emotion, something that I find unpleasant within myself.
Yeah.
Granted, I've been conditioned from childhood to
Not have emotions.
not have emotions.
Yeah.
So, like, and, and I found that in every relationship. Mostly romantic, but even in some platonic relationships. If it was about me, it was wrong.
Yeah.
And that is some, you know what I mean? Like, so how do you undo that to allow in? And that's when it's really having to unravel trauma.
Right.
Like, that is the reality of it, which is, but yeah, no, being conditioned to not, like, I did not hear from anybody that I was being dramatic. I said, I'm being dramatic, blah.
You did hear that. You did hear that as a kid, I'm sure. Or
Yeah, well,
as,
and
like,
not in
growing
those
up.
words, but it
Yeah.
was like, I can't handle you. I can't,
Yeah.
I mean, and I've heard, like,
I
I heard,
don't want to hear it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'll give you something to cry about.
And it could literally, like,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Jordan brushing her teeth today. You're like, I'm just tired. And I'm like, got it, girl. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that that's, like, we've taken that from our trauma or our childhood or whatever and turned it into, like, a negative. When, like, being emotional is not negative.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, 15 minutes ago, is, like, people present every emotion with anger.
Mm-hmm.
So then we're like, oh, like, you hurt my feelings. That's how I think. It's like,
Uh-huh.
you hurt my feelings. I'm not mad. I'm hurt, or I'm sad, or I'm frustrated, and, like, trying to teach a man that.
Well, and that's why I feel like that's where toxic masculinity comes in, because men don't feel that they have the right to have emotions.
Other than mad.
Yeah.
Or anger.
Yeah. Or like, or just to show, like, even Oliver's like, well, I don't want to cry. And I'm like, I did
Cry,
not. Like,
yeah.
no, I want, like, if you need to, go for it.
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't think. He's like, and he's so chill, though. Like, he's
Yeah.
like, just so chill.
Process is different.
But,
Yeah.
like, I hope that that's not an act that he's putting on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what he feels what a man
Macho,
is.
yeah.
Like, because that's not what a man is to me.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that is to some women, that is what a man is. Like,
Yeah.
no outwardly showing of emotions. And you can be that in your day to day, like at your job if you have to be. Take the armor off when
Yeah.
you get home.
Right. Back to,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah.
It all comes back to that. It all comes back to chivalry.
Yeah, like, I mean, I know that we have to put on an act, like, and but it's like,
We
I
do
have to
too.
say, like, but I don't think, like, and I say that, like, oh, like, even, like, then that was, like, another thing for business, but, like, like, oh, I have to be sovereign spirituality today when I just need to be a human,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, we just had that conversation.
Yeah, and, like, but I am sovereign spirituality, I am all of these things, it's the parts that we play. Like,
Yeah.
I am all of these characters. There is not a fake bone in my body.
Yeah.
Like, I have worked too hard to have to fake anything.
Yeah, I think it's just, like, professionalism versus, like, you know, like, social life versus, you know, family. And I don't think, like, I think, too, like, we present ourselves in the way that people expect us to, right?
Yes.
Like, if the expectation is, like, you're walking in and you're always happy, that's what people expect from you.
Yes,
So that's, like, sovereign spirituality, right? Like, you don't want people to come in here and be like, damn, she's sad, which makes me sad. Like,
Uh-huh.
and I don't want that in my business either. I want people to come in and be like, hey, how are you? What's going on? Like, that's what I want them to come in. Like, and if they're like, oh, it's been a day, I'm like, girl, I get it. You know, like, and then, like, to find that common ground versus, like, if they come in like, a decent mood or a pissed off mood, then we mirror it, you know,
Uh-huh.
or like we can try to like bring it up, and that's professionalism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just finding that like either common ground or like a safe space, you know,
Yeah.
versus like when it's me and you and like I come here, or you know, even if I come here for a massage and I'm like, oh my god, I like can't anymore, or you go to the shop for your lashes, or and even though the professionalism's still there, right? Like we're both performing services, it's different, right? Like we have
Right.
friendship, we have so it's our social life or it's our personal whatever versus
Like you get to be Viki, I get to be Natalie.
yeah.
And that's
And then
just
like,
kind of,
so
yeah.
then into relationships, it's like we put on, like at the beginning of a relationship, it's like we're our best self, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like those things unravel, and not necessarily like not bad things about us, but it becomes like yeah, like hey, after 3 weeks, like I have a bad day. Can you imagine that? Or
Uh-huh.
like my freaking car got crashed and my aunt died and I fucking suck this week, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, can somebody accept that from you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's chivalry, or that's emotionally available, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
You know? And then it makes you think like, okay, well, they don't display all of those, or I don't display all of those, or whatever.
Yeah.
What a conversation.
I know. And like there's so many more rabbit holes to go down, but it's been an hour and a half now.
Okay.
So I think that we need to wrap this one up, but oh, that was good.
It was
good.
good.
I like this. I like this a lot.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
There's so many rabbit holes to
Uh-huh.
go down, or conversations to bridge off of that.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Yes. Thank you guys for watching. People are going to watch.
Really comment like some of your top 5, or at least think about them, and then or comment one of your top ones so that you like we can have those conversations.
Yes.
Or Natalie can have them with you.
No, let us know what you want to hear and like what you found most useful. I want to hear from women and men. I really do
Yes.
want to hear from men because like my personal life is women based.
yeah.
It is, so you know what I mean? Like my professional life is men based, but I show up to hold space for them. That's
Yeah.
so it's different. It's hard. You know what I mean? Like, and
Yeah.
it's just, but that's like I get other perspectives in that regards for the most part, which is so interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that like, so any guys that want to come on and like
Yes.
I would love to hear your perspective because we can only bounce off of like as females.
Women experiences.
Yes, and I want to see the other side of that.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. Thank you guys.
Thank
you.
you.
Have a beautiful day.